and welcome to the J-Train podcast. This is J-Train, Jared Freid, coming to you live from the new quarantine cabin on Montauk, as the douchebags say, out east. That's right, baby. I am out east doing a little change of scenery. That's right. And so I'm going to be a little bit more subdued. The neighbors kind of complained yesterday. So for anyone that's wondering why I'm not in my usual sweat and yelling formation, but I think we have the perfect guest because she's got energy. She's got soul. I'm a very big fan. We'll get into how this kind of came together, but I'm very excited to have her. She is the host of the Absolutely Not podcast. That's every Wednesday. Heather McMahon, thank you for coming on. This is amazing.
Hey, thanks for having me. Thrilled to be here.
It's good to have you. I want to explain, like, it's sometimes most of the time it's friends of mine that come on, just friends that are in the comedy world or whatever.
Right.
And then sometimes I get kind of like fixed up with people by the audience. Like, and you are one of those people that people have been reaching out to me for not months, years to get in, and I'm like, and it's one of those things, and I think that I want to compliment you before we get started. You're I'll go, sometimes the audience will be like, can you get this person on? And I'll go to their account and I call it FTG mode, where you're like, fuck that guy. Yeah. You're very, where you're like, I don't want to even talk to that person for 4 minutes, never mind 50. And right. You're the most likable person. I love your stuff. You're so funny, and I'm really happy you're here.
Listen, I'm thrilled to be here because we gotten put together, linked up through like Taylor Strecker, wasn't it?
Taylor gave me your number, but it was like more like your name comes up so much, and we talked for 5 minutes and we texted a little bit before, and I can tell why. Like I understand that we're gonna like hit it off famously, and we're gonna answer the emails, but it is one of those things that like your name kept popping up, and I just didn't know you, and it's like when you don't know someone. It's like, I'll get to them when we can work it out. I don't want to force on somebody. I don't want to make them come on my show if they don't want, you know what I mean?
Well, no, it's crazy. I feel the same way about you. It's literally been like this revolving door of names. And it's so interesting because we tried to link up before, but then usually when I'm on tour, it's so fucking crazy. And I think I was on the road when you texted me, and then this just worked out. I mean, I only had to be like locked up in my fucking house to like literally meet all the other comics that I've wanted to meet so far.
You know what you also do amazingly? And this is a small compliment, but nobody uses the Zoom on Instagram story as well as you. You are, you should give lessons, tutorials, like, Zoom conferences, like how to Zoom for comedic timing. Like, it's, how do you knowingly do it, right?
Yeah, no, I think the Zoom is so fucking funny because it just adds that extra emphasis at the end. Like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
It's funny. A lot of people say that. They're like, how do you hit that Zoom so hard? And I don't know what it is. It's just, it's in my bones. That thumb starts moving at that perfect time.
It's one of those things that I see, I want to copy. And then it would be like if I started calling extra virgin olive oil EVOO, they'd be like, okay, Rachael Ray, that's not your fucking thing. Like, it would be so unoriginal, so.
Right. I mean, at some point, like as comedians, like we all sort of end up doing like some similar bits. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like it's just our brains are fucked up and work the same way. But no, I fully give you permission to start Zooming. If you want to, you live your truth.
Thank you. I've seen other. It's one thing I notice, and I laugh every time you Zoom. I'm a big fan of everything you do, but that is just such a natural thing on you. Not knowing you, where did you start comedy? What was your? I don't mean to we're not going to do the whole like.
No, I love it.
Story, but like I just didn't. All of a sudden, I'm like, this woman's fucking amazing. She's out there. Like, and I just didn't, and like, I'm doing open mics in New York. So like, I know who I know in my small circle. And then you get like, the circle gets bigger. How did you start? What did you do starting out?
I started in New York, like right after college. I moved up and I was doing improv and sketch and all that at UCB, Upright Citizens Brigade, for those who don't know. And then I moved to LA. So I was in LA, like literally working at a gym, fucking grinding, hustling. And I really came more from like the improv sketch world. I was on the trajectory I wanted to do SNL, but I'd always done stand up. So then I kind of had this like aha life moment. My dad dies of cancer all of a sudden. I'm like, fuck, I got to move home to Atlanta to like figure out shit. So I moved home to Atlanta, and this is when Instagram stories kind of started to take off. And I basically was like living at home with my mom, which is what I'm doing right now during quarantine. And I just had like my comedy just became so much richer because I had a totally new perspective and point of view. I was like, fuck this. Like being in New York and LA is great. Those are my places. But when you move home with your parents, like the material became so much more relatable. And it just took off like wildfire. So I started. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Keep going.
No, I just started using stories to like literally to be cathartic for me. And then all these bitches started tuning in. I'm like, great. If I don't have to like go do a shitty circuit in a nightclub right now, and I can just do this literally with no pants on from my bed. It was like a lazy stand up.
Sure.
Let's be honest.
Well, at the same time, you become, you're a sitcom. You're producing your sitcom on the fly. Like, it's interesting, the stories element, like when I never thought of like, I started yelling at The Bachelor, and then like I was like, and I started yelling at it, and I was like, oh, this fits. It fits stories so well. And just like you said, like lazy stand-up, if someone came to my show, it's not going to be very far away from things I would yell at The Bachelor. Like they're going to get a taste for me. But it is funny, like I was watching your stories, and it's like, I know the dog. I know the mom. I know the mom's friend. I know the mom can't get on the internet. Like it is all like so related. It's such an interesting thing how, it doesn't pop off the screen in New York and LA because you're amongst all the people that are trying to do similar things.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Like I built this following, and I'd always done clubs and stuff before, but because I had this kind of like, oh shit moment in my life where I felt really like, oh fuck, I got to move home to Atlanta. Like my career's going to go in the tank. But interesting enough, like Hollywood kind of moved to Atlanta and started shooting everything. So I was able to start, getting on TV and doing movies here and all that. So it was a weird, like perfect storm. And so I built my audience. So then when I moved back to New York, I was able just to like, it was already built in. And then, my agents were like, let's do a tour. And I'd been always doing stand up. And now I have like a 90-minute show that we've been taking out on the road. And it's awesome. So for me, it's weird though, because I'm popping into the comedy community because I was out of the game in quotes, like I was just in Atlanta. So it's interesting, all these, I've gotten to meet so many great New York comics, and they're like, where have you been? I'm like, I took a little detour to the South. That's
So you're in the South now, you're moving, we're talking about, so the quarantine, you're engaged. How did you meet your fiance?
I met the Italian stallion, Jeff, actually at a gay bar in Hell's Kitchen.
Very nice. I've always noticed that the gay bars for straight men, it highlights you in actually like a very pleasant way.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, so he's come from like a real Italian family, and there's 3 cousins. The oldest and the youngest are gay. The middle one straight. So Jeff was going out with his fabulous gay cousins. They're like, it's his team. And Jeff looks like their bodyguard because they're both fairly petite men. And Jeff's like, 6'2" Italian. So we were going out, and they're like, listen, we want you to meet this girl. We think she's great. And Jeff walked in the bar, and I go, oh shit, that's who I'm going to marry. Like I knew immediately.
You did? Is this, come on. Is this
I'm not kidding you.
Is this did you set this up for your maid of honor to tell this story?
No.
How did you know? What hit you? Because listen, this is nominally a comedy podcast, but also this is really an advice-driven podcast, and we get a lot of emails asking, "How do I meet the one? How did you know that's the one?" I think that's a bigger.
Something tickled my taint. I don't know what it was. Yeah. He walked in, and I was just like, "Oh shit!" Like everything about him. I literally turned to my girlfriend, Christina, and I said, I'm going to marry him. And she'd grown up with him, and she was like, Jeff? I'm like, yeah, just so you know, I'm going to marry him. And then we've been together 10, almost 11 years. Like, I just knew it was the weirdest thing.
Fantastic. And so now you guys are living with your mom in Atlanta.
Yeah, so we came down here just to visit family, and then the quarantine hit. We were already down here, so we're like, all right, let's just hang out down here. And now, we live in New York, and now we're just like, this is crazy. Like, what will New York be like after all of this? So we're actually flying up to New York on Monday to move out of our apartment.
And you're going to make Atlanta's the home base.
Yeah, I think, we always wanted to come down here. We wanted, we're like, I want to play golf and drink wine at 10 a.m. at a country club and have no responsibility. Because when I'm on the road, it's brutal and I'm grinding. And when I come home, I just want to be a drunk lush and wear tennis skirts and just eat like chicken salad sandwiches all day.
I love that attitude. I mean, I think you're not gonna be alone. I think we're around the same age. It's gonna be people are having a little bit of a moment where it's like, because we all became these city people. Even if you just like you, I travel to these places and there's always an area of town, and I call it the millennial comforter because it's the most comfortable place for a millennial to hang out. It's like the apartments upstairs, they have the bars downstairs that are all like taco places, that like, little tapas places. They all have like chargers under the bar, and you're like, oh, this is made for me. This was a Disneyland for a millennial age guy or girl. And it's like, now we're all having this moment. It's like, why do I have to be there? I think a lot of us are like, I can do all this from a huge house or a different anywhere or like somewhere I'm more comfortable. We were all like being uncomfortable to be comfortable. It kind of weirdly.
Yeah, and I love New York. New York always like, I lived there for 4 years, and I moved to LA, then I came back to Atlanta, then I've been back a year. But it's just like when we looked at it, the thought of being, and God bless everybody in New York, but the thought of being like trapped in my apartment in a 1-bedroom with my fiance, we're already gonna murder each other, and I can go outside and like put my feet in the pool. But the thought of like doing this, it's insane. And we looked at, we're paying like $4,200 a month for a 1-bedroom in the city. It's like, what the fuck? You come down to Atlanta, and my friends are living like the fucking Real Housewives.
I know.
And I'm like, what?
I want to be a Real Housewife too.
Yeah. And I mean, I only live in cities. I'm very Delta loyal. I only live in cities that have a Delta hub. So LA, New York.
Whoa. You're tickling my nuts right now. This is, I am a Delta. Like I can't stop. I legitimately on the last episode that we did, I did an alone podcast. I do someone asked if they should put their Delta. I'm a platinum member, of course.
Right here. Mm-hmm.
I don't speak to people who aren't. And someone asked if they should put their, like, what's the one below? I don't even know. They're gold.
It's silver.
They're silver.
No, gold.
They asked if they should put their gold tag on their bag, and I said, no, you should. No.
Why would you advertise that level of mediocrity?
I completely agree. I said, throw it in the garbage and then pee on it in the garbage because you're settling. That is the settling of, and it's like So Atlanta Delta Hub got to be around it. That in another world, hopefully we're both like living like life will come back to somewhat of a normalcy.
Right.
In a normal world, like, if you want to be in New York, it's a $200 flight to New York. You're jumping on a flight. It's an hour. It's not the big. I have that thought cross my mind a lot where I'm like, and then there's like that thing like now, like, just like you, I was doing stand-up every night for 10 years. Like, how am I, to get out of that? This is kind of shaking me out of like, okay, did you need to go every night to the, whatever it was to like, to go do 15 minutes as opposed to like, can you find a different way to work? I don't know. These thoughts are crossing my mind now.
I totally hear you. And listen, I feel like I'm grateful. Now I'm really grateful because it's interesting in the comedy community. A lot of people give you shit if you like build something online. But I just was like, I had to use the resources that I had at the time being home in Atlanta to like reach a broader audience. And now I'm like, fuck, thank God. Thank God I was putting on wigs doing dumb fucking videos because
do you know how much shit I have gotten from other comics just from the years of them being like, oh, like I was staying in Monday nights to yell at The Bachelor. Like I was legitimately taking a night off to watch The Bachelor, and then they're going, oh, what a stupid thing. And it's like, now it's like, well, I feel
That's
lucky
my shtick,
again.
Yeah.
I feel lucky for it. So listen, I'm so pumped to have you here. I'm happy to get to know you a little bit because
this is
I feel
great.
like we're kindred spirits. So
we really are.
I want to get to
loyal. So listen.
Do you know how much it hurt to go to book JetBlue to maybe go to Florida and how good it felt to cancel the flight? Like
I was on a flight on tour. It was in first class and American. And I was flying from Charlotte to Nashville. I'm from the South. I can say this. And my buddy, my tour manager, Chris Kettner, he's my producer on the road. He is like American, like ride or die, elite status, the whole shit. This flight attendant literally had no teeth, looked like she'd been tweaking on meth. And I looked at him, I go, this would never happen on Delta. And he's like,
Never.
Go fuck yourself. They're a part of the union. Nobody can tell them to brush their hair or put their teeth in. I was like, I'm just saying, privately owned company. I'm just saying.
You don't understand. Like, people are gonna now. I'm gonna get like all these DMs about like this Delta conversation. How happy they are because there's this like I took when I became platinum for the first time. I took a picture with the people in the Sky Room, and I in front of the thing, and then the guy and like I was joking around, like I'm with I'm with my co-host for the we're touring for the podcast, and I remember we're walking towards the flight. All of a sudden, the guy from the Sky Room comes running towards me with a card, and then I'm like. And I'm almost embarrassed. I'm like, okay, why? What's going on? I open up. It's like, congratulations for being and I was like, oh, a tear streamed down my cheek as I continue to not make eye contact with anyone not boarding with the first section. That's
I've gotten so out of control now with my sass. And I think when you're on the road, you're traveling so much that obviously like 2 years ago, I was in this position. I was on the literally sitting next to the toilet and 36E just sweating, right?
We all come from somewhere.
And I was flying from New York to LA, and I was at JFK, and they were boarding my flight. And so I'm a Sky Club rat. Just so you know, I want your listeners to know, I talk about this a lot. If you want to find love, you need to go to the Sky Club. Go to the Sky Club.
Okay.
Friday morning around 10 a.m. is usually when people are coming and going. Hottest guys, great single ladies, just like whatever your taste is, it's there. And you want to find people.
Sorry to interrupt, but this is it's people with actual responsibilities, people with places to go. Yeah.
Yes. And even if they're just jet setting to Miami for the weekend, they're on the move, they're going, if they're in the Sky Club, they're either a first class ticket or they've got, they're a world traveler. They've got status. But
Delta Platinum, American Express.
Platinum. Amen. And I was running to my flight, and I went, and of course I'm like Delta One, like I'm in the pod, and I run to the flight, and the lady's like, ma'am, this isn't your flight, and I ran in front of everyone. Like an asshole. She's like, this is going to Seattle. You're 3 gates down, and I literally stopped and I go, I'm an asshole, and everyone started laughing. And I was like, I got excited.
That's so funny because I do the same thing. Whenever I'm Delta One, there's a little kick in my step. I'm like, oh, okay, things are. I'm laying down. I want to do the big parade. Ta-ta, everybody! I want to do the Titanic boarding. Goodbye. Oh, sorry. You guys have fun dancing in the hull. And then I go, and then, but whenever I travel now with my girlfriend. She watches me, and just like you, now because I do it so much, I feel an ownership over the airport and flying. So she's like, there's moments where she's like, you're a monster. Like one time they called first class, and I left her in the back while I got pushed up, and I go, well, you're going to, she goes, well, I'm not boarding with you. I go, no. Part of the deal is you board with me. And she's like, I don't want to. I go, I'm not waiting to board with you. And she's like, we got the biggest, when you get in a fight with your teeth clenched, where I'm like, I am not going, you're coming with me. Like, I was so enraged.
And then everyone thinks that she's being like sex trafficked because you're screaming at her and clenching her wrists. Yeah. Show
us the spoon in your pocket, miss, please. Right. So, okay. So listen, I'm so pumped to have you here. Everyone needs to go follow Heather at Heather McMahon. Go. Absolutely Not is the podcast every Wednesday. Go. Follow, make it a part of your podcast library. JTrain Podcast at gmail.com, JTrain Podcast at gmail.com. Hot neighbor, more interesting than old girlfriend. You ready?
Okay.
Jared, love the podcast. Definitely gets me through my long days working from home. I have a bit of a different type of question because it doesn't really have to do directly with my relationship. My boyfriend's brother lives in the same city as us. Normally, he lives with his girlfriend of 4 years, but she has been out of town with family for about a month and isn't planning on coming back to the city for at least another month. The problem is my boyfriend's brother has recently made friends with his very hot neighbor. This isn't a red flag in itself, but they have been spending time together every day for 2 weeks. Every time we call to say hi, he is always with her. They have dinner together every night and seem to be spending all their free time together. He even allowed her to ride his girlfriend's bike and brought her to our backyard to meet us for social distancing hang. Oy. He told us Something's going on. He told us after the first time that they hung out that she gave him butterflies but planned to ignore it because of his girlfriend. Before the quarantine, he and his girlfriend were in a rocky place and it seemed like they might break up. She is a very jealous person and there's no way that she knows that her boyfriend is spending all this time with another girl. My question is, how do my boyfriend and I address this, if at all? Personally, we think he should break up with his girlfriend as they don't get along at all, but he is reluctant to do so because he seems to be scared that he will regret it. We can't decide if he has already hooked up with the hot neighbor and he is never alone so that we can ask. Do we just let it go and let him make his own messy choices as far as cheating might be concerned, or do we say something? Thanks. What do you think, Heather?
Okay, this is very important. Great email. One, he's for sure hooking up with her. And if he used the word butterflies, like, you're a straight dude. I'm sorry. If Jeff said he had butterflies, like, that's love, right? That's not just like, my dick's getting a little hard, like that. To me, butterflies. He doesn't like this girlfriend. Fucking break up with her. Come on. Yeah. Life is short. We're in a global pandemic. It could end tomorrow.
I know.
I'm sorry. Get rid of the girlfriend.
It is one of those things, you know when people talk about like code switching? Yeah. Like men do that thing, like him saying to his boyfriend's girlfriend butterflies, to me is like, that's him switching to like female language, where he's like, but I agree with you. It's like kind of like, as far as I think he's trying to show her that, like, he's trying to basically ward her off of thinking that he's an evil person. So if he says, I just want to fuck my neighbor, he's a disgusting animal. But if he says it's butterflies, now she can give that speech as the maid of honor at his wedding one day. It's one of those things.
I hear you. Okay.
But I agree with you. They've definitely already hooked up, or, they're already emotionally cheating. Like if you want to go down that rabbit hole. Do you have siblings? Do you have any siblings?
I do. I have an older sister, and the biggest red flag to me is when the girl said that the other girlfriend is jealous, is super jealous. Okay, first of all, if you're in a relationship and you're jealous at all, like women slide into Jeff's DMs in a creepy way, and all I do is screenshot their names, and then I put them in a burn book, so when I meet them on the road, I can murder them, right? Like, I'm like, get out of the VIP line, I hate you. I see what you said.
I love the fact that you're like, okay, I got to remember my act, and I have to remember these 3 women who live in Des Moines. Like,
Chelsea from Raleigh, Durham. I just want you to know, I have you in a photo frame at my house. But
how are you getting ready tonight? Well, I got to remember 3 Instagram handles, and if they tag me, I know that they've messaged my fiance in a weird way that makes me. That's so funny.
100%. But like, other than that, I'm the least jealous person. Like, if you're jealous at all, in a sense, then I don't think you trust a relationship.
Sure. And also the relationship isn't fulfilling you. Like, I if you feel totally full from the relationship. I remember my dad used to tell me this story when him and my mom were, and listen, I'm referencing my mom and dad because they've been married however many years, and they're still married, but like they have their own problems, but they're not like, is he thinking about me? Like, I don't think they're doing that. Like, I remember my dad would tell me this story about he was walking home with my mom after eating dinner, and they had leftovers with them, and this homeless guy was like, can I have that leftovers? And my dad looked at him and goes, you could take my wife before the leftovers. And it's like, that's the type, like there's moments with like where Jess will like, and I will kind of have these like flirty conversations after a few
with
drinks.
Homeless people?
Yeah, with homeless people. We're like licking their face and, hugging them and being like, come home with us. It's how we find our threesomes. Where I'm like, yeah, you should go with that dude. Like I'm so like, if you don't want to be at this party, then that's okay. I'm going to keep the music playing. So like, I think it's a healthy adult relationship. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, listen, Jeff and I, we've been together 10 years, but truly we were long distance for like 8 out of 10. And I never worried about him stepping outside of the line. Like, I never worried, because I'm like, if he don't want to be with me, he'll fucking tell me. I'm fucking over it, But
would you say something if your sister was, if you had a hunch that your sister's sleeping around on her husband, whatever it may be, would you try to intervene?
Yeah, well, but my loyalty lies with her, right?
Of course.
Yeah. No, I would probably say, girl, what the fuck are you doing? You want to get rid of Mark? You like this guy, Jeremy? Let's figure it out.
Well, I think the important thing with this, my advice, like I have a younger brother. I don't go to him to tell him how I truly feel about anyone he dates. Like I mean, I
do.
Do you?
Fuck yeah. My sister's dated some guys before that have been like, ugh, he's the fucking worst. Well, here's the thing though. I've realized women, the communication, like we just say it like it is. Men are more like, no, like Tiffany's cool, but I'm like, whatever. It's your life, bro. Like, fuck no. If Tiffany's a whore, she's a whore. Just say it.
Well, there's like, I guess I would hope that if my brother was like getting very serious with someone I wasn't really, that I didn't enjoy, I don't know, if I would really be, personally, I'd be so careful about how I say that, because here's this scenario that like scares the shit out of me. You go, hey, I don't think she's the one for you. Your brother goes, thanks for your input, and then marries that woman. And then it's like, now you're in a family together. Like now, like that's never forgotten. Like in my mind, like, so like, I
hear you.
So like, I think for this woman she's writing in about it's her boyfriend's brother. I think you have to like have your boyfriend go to his brother and be like, talk to me about what's going on. And I think it's like an open conversation where you're like, talk to me. You were rocky with the other girl. And I think the thing with the cheating guy who's over his now girlfriend, it becomes like it becomes a bigger mess than it really is. The first goal is get yourself out of a bad relationship that you're not happy in. Right. And I think like to say that if you go to this guy and you're like, hey, I know you're fucking, get rid of that. Now you can keep fucking that. It's like, I think that's like a lot to handle. Like, I think it'd be better. Like if,
I hear what you're saying, but I think you got to rip the Band-Aid. I think this girl needs to go to the guy, pull him aside and be like, listen, what's this girl's name? Melissa. Yeah. Melissa's hot. You're miserable with the other bitch. I think she needs to be the voice of reason. I think you're giving this guy way too much credit. Listen, we're in a global pandemic. I think this is the time to cut the fat when you need to cut the fat. If you're in a miserable relationship, let's be done with it. Yeah. Now he is in New York, or I don't know actually where this person
we don't know
lives,
the city. Yeah.
We don't know the city, but I would imagine, if they live in an apartment, I mean, this would be a perfect time. He could move out of the apartment. She's not coming back from no. Fuck this. Be honest. I'm so sick of the bullshit.
I agree with you. He definitely needs to break up with his girlfriend. It's how do you nudge him in the right direction? But maybe a push is better than a nudge right now, where it's like, hey, dude, what you're doing is wrong to two people. Let's unbutton the first button. The first button is to call your girlfriend and be like, I'm moving out. We have things to talk about. When you're back, you figure out the most classy way to get out of this relationship first. And then I think that's the push. And then the nudges and this girl, like then you become like the Jewish aunt. Like, and there's a girl and she's pretty cute. But like the first thing is like push him off the cliff of this relationship.
Right.
We are sponsored, people. The J Train podcast is brought to you by FabFitFun. I love FabFitFun. I get it, I get the box from them, and it comes with so many different things. The summer box came with Tom's sunglasses, which Jess absolutely loves them. And you know what the beauty of the FabFitFun box is that you're going to get a bunch of different stuff, and you're going to love something in it. You're going to love something, and it's going to become a part of your life in a way that maybe, when you're out at the store, you wouldn't have bought these things, because you're getting a lot of goodies in one box for the price of $49.99. And the box is worth over $200. So it's also, this is a great gift to yourself. I encourage you to give yourself the gift of FabFitFun, because you're going to go through the box and you're going to dig through it, and something is going to be a treat for you, which is really unbelievable. It's also a great gift for anyone in your life, because you don't know what to get people. Who knows? Now you get to diversify your gift giving. Now you get to say, well, there's a lot of stuff in here. You choose what you love. I don't have to throw a bullseye. I can spray a bunch of darts at the board, and one of them's going to hit. FabFitFun is a fun gift, especially now. It's like having the world delivered to you. Get 8 to 10 full-size items. 8 to 10. Skincare, beauty, home decor, accessories. Again, the Tom's glasses are now a daily essential for my girlfriend. So I know you miss shopping, and I know you miss the little things like being able to get your nails done or discover a new product you love. That's why FabFitFun is so great. I learn about new products through them. So again, something in the box is going to become a part of your daily routine that you never would have treated yourself with. So it's time to you can also customize your box. You can go online and pick all the things that you want to come in your box. So it's really, you can get the best of both worlds. You can be like, hey, you guys shower me in gifts, or I'll get all the things that I think I want and put it all together myself. So it's time to customize your box for the summer season. Sign up today to get your first box. Join a community of over 1 million obsessed women. Use coupon code JTRAIN for $10 off your first box at fabfitfun.com. Once again, that's code JTRAIN for $10 off your first box at fabfitfun.com. JTrainPodcast at gmail.com. JTrainPodcast at gmail.com. Here with Heather McMahon. Heather McMahon at Heather McMahon, McMahon. Absolutely not. That's the podcast every Wednesday. Ooh, meeting up with the ex.
Here we go.
Okay.
I love giving love advice.
You're doing a great job. Feather. So thankful for your daily content the past few months. Can't wait to see you live at a show again. I went out with an ex situationship. So situationship is kind of like a new word that's been created in these times where it's like, we're hooking up. We're more together than fucking, less together than together. I guess that would be
right.
So I went out with an ex situationship last night and have been replaying the events in my mind nonstop and need a male's opinion on it. A little background. I dated a guy that I'd known for 15 years for about 6 months pre-quarantine. We talked every day, went out 1 to 2 times per month, got nice dinners, watched shows together, hooked up, etc. We never had any deep emotional bond or important conversations. Everything has always been low-key, fun, and unattached. We were both cool with that. Okay, fast forward to quarantine. I ended things because the situationship had drawn on for a little too long, and I knew we wouldn't last through months of not being able to see each other. The only thing we had going for us was a physical chemistry, and that didn't seem enough to last through the coronavirus and beyond. He seemed shocked that I ended things, but I accepted it. Then about a week ago, as if he sensed I was in a vulnerable state for a few awful first dates with guys I'd talked to during quarantine, he responded to my Insta story. I'd assume he wouldn't want to see me after how things had ended, so this surprised me. We agreed to get a drink to catch up. He went so far as to preface this drink with a note that said that he wasn't in a place to date. So before the drink, there was a note that said he wasn't in a place to date. A little presumptuous, right?
Yeah,
I it's presumptuous, but I get it. It's ego driven. I agreed that I wasn't either, as I have plans to move cities next year. Drinks went well. We talked about going back to my place to make dessert. Literally, he started kissing me when he got to my place, and then launched into a speech about how he better leave because he promised himself he wouldn't hook up with me. He said,
Jesus Christ.
This is Gone with the Wind.
Do they know that you don't have a psych degree? I mean, I'm here for the answers, but this woman wants you to like psychoanalyze everything. I can't.
Heather, you're new here, but this is kind of, the level of detail is for real. He said things like he'd gotten in his head about it and thought it would be the right thing to do to not hook up, and he even told all his roommates he wouldn't. I obviously didn't pressure him. He walked him out. He said that he'd love to hang out again, to which I said that I'm never going to initiate anything if he's not comfortable and the ball is in his court. Can you help me understand his point of view? Do you think he was trying to be a nice guy? We were never much more than fuck buddies, so why get in his head about it now? Do you think he can't do the casual thing or assume I can't? The meetup ended feeling like a rejection, and I'm confused. What do you think? This is an interesting email.
I have no fucking idea what to think. Okay, first of all, okay. Can you bullet point this for me? Because
the bullet point is, and listen, this is definitely, the women write in, the women emails are better than the men. The men ones are always like, so we met and should we fuck? You know, like, and it's over. But
no, totally.
So I would rather have more information, because there's always answers in the emails that they give to me, because that I kind of pick out from things that they said. So I kind of know what's going on here. But basically she's saying, it's interesting though, like women women love keeping track of time. And it when she says, I dated a guy that I'd known 15 years for 6 months pre-quarantine. You fucked for 6 months. You know, that's how a guy would be like, yeah, I've been fucking this girl for 6 months. Well, did you know her before? Yeah, we knew each other from elementary school. It wouldn't be the 15-year saga of how we used to know each other and then how mothers met. And it's like, there's an in-between to the two. So they've been hooking up for 6 months before quarantine. She ends it because this is purely physical to her, but she ends it because she's like, I don't see this going really more. How could whatever we're doing get through quarantine? And he was backsided because, and I think the reason he was blindsided by that is because men just love vague. Men love having the spice cabinet full of half empty spices. We want to be able to say, I could use cumin one night, I could get a blowjob from rosemary the next night. Like that's kind of, so for him, he's like, why would we stop production at the blowjob factory? There's kind of like that so I understand his shock. She's wondering why he would get to like the edge of the pool and not jump into a hookup to then end it with her, which is a fucking annoying.
I have no fucking idea what to tell this kind woman.
Yes.
Okay, you've explained this now 7 times, and I still don't know what to tell her. And I am literally a well of just knowledge and love advice. And I feel like, listen, you've known him 15 years. You've been fucking for 6 months. Back and forth. He comes over for the dessert, but he didn't get the dessert. No, on to the next one. I firmly believe that the man has to like the woman more than she likes him. Plain and simple. Or it's not going to work out. It will not last.
Talk about that for a second. Why do you believe that?
Because men by nature are they're going to look around. You know what I mean? Men are like that. I mean, I love Jeff, but he really loves me. Like wants to skin me and wear me as a coat. That's the level you need. You know what I mean? That's why a lot of women date down a little bit. Like, you always feel like a really hot girl with an okay guy because he fucking loves her. If you're dating this guy that's wish-washy, it's not going to fucking last.
So when you were like out there dating, how would you meet guys? Were you ever in situations where you're just kind of hooking up and you're like, and the guy, like, I can answer her question right now. Her question can be answered by, he likes you enough, but not enough to date you. So he wants to fuck you, but he doesn't want to date you. He knows that if you guys have sex, he's going to get blamed for trying to make and she might be, and here's the ego of a man tells him that every woman's going to become obsessed with him if they have sex. She might not feel that way. She sounds like she's pretty rational about it. She's like, I was there to have sex. In his mind, it's not just sex. It's signing up for another breakup with someone that you guys have a lot of mutual friends over 15 years. So he's going to look like a bad guy to not just you, but a lot of people. So that, so I understand why he did the things he did. Were you ever in these situations where you're like, where a guy would just like,
I dated this guy in college. Well, I dated this guy in college who I found was cheating on me with like literally a girl with like one good eye. You know what I mean? She didn't have 2 good eyes. And I remember in that moment, I was like, oh, it has nothing to do with me at that point. And I confronted him, and then I ended up going and hooking up with him again. And I realized looking back, I'm like, why the fuck did I do that? I don't know if it was a self-esteem issue at the time or what, but we all make these, as women, we all kind of like, you're all searching for something. And I knew I wasn't going to marry this guy. I knew there wasn't any long-term about it, but it was almost more like the chase. It was like, I know he's not 100% into it. He doesn't have his both feet in the water. So it's more like a game at this point. When I look back and I see him now on Instagram, I'm like, thank God I dodged that bullet because he let himself go. But I just think she needs to move on. My advice is he's pussing out of this. He's being a baby back bitch, and he doesn't want the commitment, and she deserves better. So even if she wanted to hook up, it's still more important to her than she's letting on.
He's doing, I think the more confusing part to her is probably that he like came all the way over. He went for drinks, and it's like, no, he does what a lot of people do from their couch. When when you cancel on someone and you're like, man, it seemed like a good idea to to get ketchup drinks,
Right.
3 weeks ago, and then you get closer and closer to that, and you text them, you go, I don't know, things might come up, maybe I might not do it. He did all of that in front of you, so I think he physically showed you as far as he'll go. As far as effort is concerned. So I agree. You got to run from the hills for this guy. J-Train podcast.
I think she deserves better. And I think that she, don't put up with a guy who's going to half-ass it. Get a guy who's all in.
Love it. J-Train podcast at gmail.com. J-Train podcast at gmail.com. Here with Heather McMahon at Heather McMahon. Go, go, go. Absolutely not. That's the podcast. Go, 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 go right now. Okay, so let's do advice on a coworker blaming the pandemic for bailing on a date. Okay. Feather, I have a scenario I'd appreciate your input on. I matched with a guy on Hinge, and later in the conversation found out we work at the same hospital. I ended up deleting the app because it started to make me feel bad about myself, guys taking 12 plus hours to respond, but I found him on Facebook and gave him my number. I had to do some investigating to find his last name because it was not on the app, which I think he found creepy. Well, okay, you've gone above and beyond. You found him on Facebook, then you found his last name. There's been more searching than normal here. We texted casually for about a day, and he asked me to get coffee the day of, and I asked if he was free the following day. We agreed on a time, and then that same night, he postponed because he said his mom asked him to help her around the house. He offered to go for a walk in the evening instead. I agreed, but hadn't heard from him in 12 plus hours, so I texted him if we were still on. He responded yes, but then a few hours later canceled due to not feeling well and did not offer another alternative plans. What gives? Do you think he was actually sick, or was he just flaky and not committal the entire time? Why not just be upfront and tell me the truth then? We both mentioned that we are interested in something more serious in the beginning. He has not replied since he bailed on me and went into work the next day. Please help. What do we think?
So I feel like I'm really not trying to be a negative Nancy coming on this podcast because I love giving advice, but I think she's got to let this one go.
I'm with you, but I think sometimes people write in about someone else. Like, this is a scenario where she's writing in about someone else, but she needs advice on how to use the dating apps. She said that the dating apps made her feel badly. Listen, she's not alone. She's not wrong. No one can tell you how to feel. But the reality is she is taking the people that she meets on dating apps more seriously than maybe they should be taken.
I agree with that. Yeah.
When you say they haven't gotten in touch with me for no one can tell you how to feel. I feel bad, via other people all the fucking time. People that don't mean to make me feel bad. It's a totally normal thing. But when you tell me that, guys are taking 12 plus hours to respond and that made me feel bad, so I got off the app. Then you went and approached a guy that you met on the app on Facebook. You told him you knew his last name. You did some investigating. You gave him your number. You took so many steps where, to me, I've had people reach out to me when I was single and I was very agreeable. Like agreeable to the point where okay, let me be agreeable until I have to say no. I think we do that with I do that with business too. If someone's like, hey, do you want to do my thing? I go, yeah, sounds good. Well, what is it? So I'll be like, yeah, it sounds good. What is it? And
I totally hear you on that. Yeah, you don't say no until you're literally backed into a corner and you're like, oh fuck. I mean, listen, I never really had the pleasure of doing the dating apps because I've been with Jeff for such a long time. I mean, I did a Match.com for a hot situation when I moved to New York just to almost meet people because that's what I thought you did. This way before the Bumbles and Hinge and all that shit. But that's
that's the most southern move to New York move. I'm here. This is Match.com's for meeting, right?
I was like, I'm going to find myself I don't know. I thought I'd find a city oil tycoon. What my mom did actually say was, she's like, Heather, put on, and my mom's from Boston. She's scrappy, but she was like, Heather, you need to go down to Wall Street. You need to look really hot and just have a map and just stand outside around lunch in front of Delmonico's. So you'd be like, yo, I'm lost. Anybody know where, I can find Bloomingdale's? She's like, and you will get married immediately. But I wouldn't even know how to navigate the dating thing. Because if you can see, I get butthurt when I see a timestamp that somebody's seen my DM and hasn't responded. I couldn't imagine if it was a love DM, right? If you're they haven't responded or they haven't sent me back a message in 12 hours, that whole timeline would just fuck me up. would fuck me up.
Yeah, you know what? It's like it's tough to not take it more seriously than it is. But like what you're saying is like that you can't take these things personally. So like when someone you've never met cancels, you should feel lucky for the cancellation.
Amen.
You like, okay, good. This wasn't about me. This was just about them. And it's not like you really spent, and I know it feels like you're spending a lot of time on these people because you're like hovered over your phone.
Right.
But we're not spending that much time on the people. You didn't spend any money. You spend, let's look at the glass half full for a second. Like you didn't leave the house. You got to take a shit while you dated. Good for you. Like
good for you.
Who the fuck cares? We are sponsored, people. The J-Train podcast is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Listen. You're going on your computer and you're looking at websites that you can't even believe you're looking at yourself. You go down one of those rabbit holes and you're like, oh, let me look at this and let me look at that. If anyone saw my Google search history after an episode of The Bachelor, because during The Bachelor I'll post all these pictures to make fun of things on the screen. So I'm Googling the most direct language I can, and it's you feel like a monster. One of them was a guy. I remember I posted a picture of a guy in like leather straps, and I was like, man, look, if anyone saw this, they'd be like, what are you looking for on Monday night? So I know most of you are probably thinking, why don't you just use incognito mode? Let me tell you something. Incognito mode doesn't hide your activity. It doesn't matter what mode you use or how many times you clear your browsing history. Your internet service provider can still see every single website you've ever visited. That's why, even when I'm at home, I never go online without using ExpressVPN. It doesn't matter if you get your internet from Spectrum, Verizon, or whatever you've got. ISPs in the U.S. can legally sell your information to ad companies. ExpressVPN is an app that reroutes your internet connection through their secure servers so your ISP can't see the sites you visit. ExpressVPN also keeps all your information secure by encrypting 100% of your data with the most powerful encryption available. ExpressVPN is available on all your devices, phones, computers, even your smart TV. So there's no excuse for not using it. Protect your online activity today with the #1 rated VPN by CNET and Wired. Visit my special link right now, expressvpn.com/JTrain. You can get an extra 3 months. That's 3 months of ExpressVPN for free. Support the show, watch what you want, and protect yourself. Oh, look at ExpressVPN is in my bones. It chilled me so hard I sneezed. So get an extra 3 months of ExpressVPN for free. Support the show, watch what you want, and protect yourself at expressvpn.com/JTrain. JTrainPodcast@gmail.com. JTrainPodcast@gmail.com. Okay, so let's do here with Heather McMahon at Heather McMahon. This one seems, I'm sorry to give you such downer ones. I'm looking for some like positive and spicy ones, but like,
can we just get one that says like, I got my HPV test and it came back negative. Like, I just need some, we're in a fucking pandemic. What are you trying to do to me?
Well, do you want to hear like a really, this is what sounds sad too. Like I'm like diving into the inbox and it's like making a move after a broken engagement.
Oh, Jesus. Okay, let's do it.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Feather, I've rated, reviewed, subscribed, seen your stand-up live pod. Thanks for all your quarantine content. On to my question. What is the etiquette around making a move on someone after a broken engagement? Okay, good. This person, the engagement wasn't broken on them. Okay, context. Guy I used to hook up with on and off in my late 20s, early 30s, recently broke off his engagement 3 months ago.
I love it. You're right about the women and the timeline. I've known him for years. Dear old friend. Yeah.
Yes. I get everything. And I understand because I'll have some guests where I'll read the email and I'll look back at them. I'll be like, what do you think? And they're like, who am I?
Yeah. That's what
am I cheating?
Yeah. Yeah.
Guy I used to hook up with on and off in my late 20s, early 30s, recently broke off his engagement 3 months ago. I was the last person he was with before his fiance, and I was bummed when they got together because I was hoping to explore our connection further. When I first met him, I was completely hung up on another guy, not open to anything real with anyone else, but the last few times we got together, I was open to something more, though I never expressed that to him. Then he met the girl who became his fiance. They were together a few years. I moved on. Cut to a few weeks ago when a friend sees him on a dating app. I ask a mutual friend of the guy, and he tells me that they split just a few weeks before their wedding. I know some of the details of why it ended, and it's pretty shitty. She looks terrible, and he looks like the victim. Okay. I know he's hurting and in a vulnerable place, which is where my question comes in. How soon is too soon? Because he's on the swoop in, right? He's on the dating app. Let's go.
Dating app. Let's go.
Yeah.
You don't have any loyalty to that girl. Swoop in. This is the universe saying hello. You guys are coming together. You've only known him how long? 40 years prior to this?
Yeah.
Like, no, swoop in, baby. This is it. I love that she's being sensitive, and I think that's a little girl code. But if he's putting himself out there, even if he's not ready to necessarily like dive into, this is going to be the love of my life, I think go for it. This may be the moment you need. Seize the day.
I think she's also thinking of this from the perspective, like, this is normally the guy moving in on a woman who's vulnerable. This is kind of a flip on like on a tale as old as time. Right. You know, so the flip is that it's the guy who's the kind of the quote unquote victim of the breakup. She's like, well, I don't want to move in too soon because then I look like I'm taking advantage of someone who's down in the dumps. And it's like, well, in the male scenario, like I don't mean to be like, you know, gender specific on this one, but like I'm speaking from like my personal thing. If I moved in on a girl who just broke up out of her engagement and we fucked, and then I was like, well, I kind of just want to be casual, I would look like the biggest monster in the world. Like, for most women, they're not just swooping in to get a quick fuck, and it doesn't sound like she is either. So, like, that kind of changes things. Like, your move-in isn't like a slide dog move-in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I totally hear you. I think she should just explore it, reach out to him. Worst he's going to say is, hey, oh my God, so great to connect. They meet up for a drink, whatever. And she plays dumb in this situation. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I think, you know, listen, be sensitive, be a good human being, and don't go in there, you know.
So she said, lastly, any suggestions for going about it? We are connected on social, occasionally like pics or reply to stories, have each other's numbers and run loosely in a friend group together. What would be the best way to connect while being sensitive to the situation, but reminding them that I'm here and I'm hard, or the female equivalent? So I love that.
Oh, yeah. I think she should just reach out and be like, hey, like, want to check in on you during the quarantine. Blame the quarantine. Blame the pandemic.
Okay. Great move.
Hey, listen, reaching out to all my old buds, like wanted to check in on you during the pandemic. How are things? I know you've had a lot of life changes recently. Like, she can just say it like that, right?
Yeah.
Literally A to B, how you doing? What's up? And then open the conversation. She
and
have to say, like, here's a picture of my vagina.
Yeah. Heard there's an opening.
Right.
You know, like, heard there's an opening on Dick Lane. I'm coming in. Like, you don't have to be that person. Yeah, I completely agree. I'll give a secondary version. I think that is the way you act blissfully naive, blissfully stupid. You're like, hey, how you been? Thought of you, saw something the other day that made me think of you, blah, blah, blah. How's everything going? Whatever. Let him bring it up. Let him tell you the story. Ooh, boo-hoo. Let's get a drink. Or the next Instagram story he puts up. I think Instagram is the best dating app. Next Instagram story he puts up, this is like when women laugh at a guy who isn't funny. Laugh at his Instagram story or respond to it. That is basically like if a cute girl that I used to fuck responded to my Instagram story after I was done with my engagement, I would go, oh, okay. Here's
an opening. Yeah.
Oh my God. From God's ear, from God's mouth to my dick. Like, it would literally be like that type of thing. JTrainPodcast@gmail.com. JTrainPodcast@gmail.com. Let's do one more, Heather. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's great.
Awesome. You've been fantastic. Everyone. Go follow Heather McMahon @Heather McMahon. Absolutely not. That's the podcast. She just moved her tour to 2021. So get involved. HeatherOnTour.com. HeatherOnTour.com. I'm going to give you the titles. You can choose. I'll give guest choice. Wedding party drama. That already sounds like I don't want to push you in a
party drama. No, let's pick it. I want it.
Do you? Okay, because these are my favorite types, and I just feel like you're gonna. How's your wedding party coming together? Are you?
Well, our wedding was supposed to be in Italy this September. Obviously, due to circumstances, we're pushing it to next year. But it's been interesting. I mean, we have other friends who are getting married this year is supposed to be getting married like in August in New Jersey, and their wedding's still on. And it's kind of like, it's almost like all of our friends, it's like, are you going to John's wedding? Well, I'm going to Emily's wedding. Like, It's just a weird thing where everyone's trying to be really respectful, but we're also like, push it to next year.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I don't understand why people aren't pushing it, because it's like, this is just a party. This is all symbolic. Like, are you afraid? Yeah. Like, when people don't push it, I think worse of their relationship than when they do push it. Like, when they don't push it, I go, well, what are you in a rush for? What's wrong? Or what are you afraid of happening? And then when people don't push it also, I go, at least give everyone the out. Look at everyone and go, listen, I get it. No one will care if you don't come. I'm doing this for me. You know, you have to own that you're doing this for selfish reasons. And if someone doesn't come, they're still a friend. That's all people want to hear, right?
Yeah, and listen, we are going to Italy specifically for the fact that, I mean, Jim's Italian, I'm Italian, but we wanted to do something that was like an adventure for people. And we said, listen, we're taking the pressure off of you. We're going to Europe. If you want to come, you're invited. We're going to plan a whole week of shit. Yeah. If it's too much, guess what? This is your out. If I got married in Atlanta or New York, everyone would feel pressure to come. You know, we're doing it in the States. And I was like, I want to cut the fat. I want just the people who want to like travel with us, you know, through Italy. Like,
sure.
We just want to have a trip and an experience with our friends. It wasn't about like the fucking doilies and the bullshit. It was literally like, y'all want to go on a trip is essentially what we said. And then we're like, if you can't come, you can't come. Like, no big deal.
That the destination wedding serves as a excuse for anyone that, you know, okay, fine. We get why you wouldn't come. Hey, J-Train, I threw a question mark in the subject line, hoping you'd read it with an upward inflection. Hope all is well in the quarantine cabin. Anyways, I'll keep this short and sweet. I am the maid of honor at my best friend's wedding come fall. They're keeping it super small, just the wedding party and moms and dads. I've known the bride for 16 plus years. Myself and her two good friends and coworkers are her wedding party. Here's the potential drama. One of the bridesmaids followed me on IG within the past few days. We don't know each other well, but the interactions we've had have been great. Planning, she asked me advice on a wedding gift, but that was months ago. All of a sudden, unfollow. For context, this is deep. For context, I am active on IG. I run empowerment groups for women virtually and link my writing to my page. I did recently start selling skincare.
Pyramid scheme.
But I've posted maybe 3 times and just in my story amongst dozens of other story posts. Did she unfollow me because of the skincare? Is there something I'm missing? What's the protocol here? Just ignore it and decide it was a mistake? LOL, thanks for the perspective.
Okay.
I love her email because, listen, the people who post the skincare and the empowerment stuff are usually not this aware. So I do it. Let's start with appreciating this emailer.
Absolutely. Listen, she knows what's up. She knows her target audience. She also knows it's probably overwhelming for some people. I got to be honest with you, especially during this pandemic time, like the last thing I want, anybody who writes on their Instagram, like hustle hard, rise and grind, I'm done. I want to rise and relax. Like today I put on jeans. Go fuck yourself, Michelle. I'm not doing that. So you're right, though. She is self-aware. And listen, honey, I'm from the South. The pyramid scheme situation is, we're selling organic fields. We got Arbonne. We got it all.
You're in the thick of horrible Instagram. I mean, I've recently done TikTok and the For You page, I'm like, I don't know these people. Like, I know these people. I know these people exist, but I'm like, I can't believe there are this many McMansions in the state of Louisiana. Like, I can't believe there are this many, like people that are putting up like, down now, me and my husband, like I can't believe there are this many couples with abs. Like, I can't believe it. And it's like,
it's a mind fuck for a lot of people.
So you see so much of that shit. So again, like I do think this person followed you. They looked at it, they go, oh, not from me. No. And they were like, you know what? She's not going to notice. And like, I know this sounds like someone who puts on the app that like tells you who unfollows you on a day,
the tracker.
Which I appreciate. Listen, I get Instagram crazy sometimes. I have moments where I'm like, Jared, I have to have a talk with myself and go, Jared, you're an adult who, does a lot of things and you need to like not be so, inserted on this thing. I think you need to let go and not take it personally and look at it as like, listen, some people's empowerment is also the thing that brings other people down. Like,
right.
Reading your empowerment stuff, like for me, like sometimes that makes me think negatively. Like you can't control how people feel. So this person, I actually like what they did because they were like, listen, I don't know them that well. I don't want to judge them, based on seeing skincare. Like maybe you do, maybe you're the best skincare saleswoman in the entire world. Like, I don't know.
Here's the thing. She shouldn't listen. Weddings are a weird time where it brings a lot of people together. I kept my wedding party very small. It's just my 3 best girlfriends from elementary, and my girlfriends from college are pissed. You're never going to please anybody.
So the girlfriends in college, they're like, what the fuck?
Well, yeah. And then I'm like having them be a part of it. I'm like, you guys, we're in our 30s. Like half of y'all have kids. You want to wear a fucking dress? If you want to wear a jumpsuit to my wedding or crotchless panties because you're trying to like spice up your marriage, do whatever the fuck you want. I am not being that bride.
Make this wedding your own.
Yeah. The only thing I've required, I told my wedding planner today, I said, listen, I just require that you hand out little business cards or little slips of paper before the wedding. And it says all the phrases that I want people to say to me. Like, Heather, you look so thin and radiant. That's all I want is people to have cues of things that they can say to me.
Oh my. Yeah. I think that is the best wedding advice ever. Just because here's the thing. You ever I had this happen the other day. You ever have someone come up to you and you're like, they're going to say something that they don't know is brutal that I'm going to have to digest.
Yeah, every day of my life.
They think it's funny and a compliment, and they don't know it's going to ruin the rest of my day. Like I was working out on the beach. I've been working on the beach. I'm bragging now. So I go with the trainer. He's on the phone. I have a little so this woman, she's like, "Were you the one working on the beach?" And I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "I saw you doing push-ups," and I thought, and I was like, the minute she said I thought, I was like, "Nice to meet you. Gotta go." Yeah. Like, I'm just like, I'm like ready for her to be like, I thought it was a whale that was like doing CrossFit, and I'm like I was like waiting for that, and like sometimes you just see it on people where you're like, so that's why I think your idea is like if everyone just has a word that you love, that you want to hear, and you'll forget about it. You'll think it's off the top of their head.
Yeah, I just said, listen, I want to make sure that I am built up. Again, I've been with Jeff for 10 years. We're going to get legally married, and we're on each other's life insurance. It has nothing to do at this point about celebrating our marriage. We're like, fuck this. This is our time to get in shape, for people to tell us that we finally did it. He's beefy, I'm beefy. We just want to have that moment where we're tan, we're thin, we're radiant. I love it. I like to set a goal. And so that's all we're doing. It's for selfish reasons. I'm like, Jeff, we're already basically legally married. I'm not worried about it. But I need everyone here to tell me that I'm fucking glowing. That's all I want.
Yeah. Love it. So I think for the wedding party stuff, to go back to this person's email.
Yeah.
I think what's going to end up happening is you start with, oh, that's the bitch who unfollowed me. And then it goes to, hey, that's the bitch that unfollowed me. Now you're creating teams and division in a wedding that's not even your own.
Ignore it, roll it up your back. Ignore it,
and just take it as some people are not going to be up for what you're fucking selling. And I have to understand that as a comedian. Heather, you do too, right? We deal with that on a daily basis. So jtrainpodcast@gmail.com. Heather McMahon, this has been such a blast, such a pleasure. I'm so happy you came on.
This is awesome. And I'm going to bring you on my podcast. So obviously tell all your followers, pop over to Absolutely Not, and I'll have you on.
Go follow right now if you don't already at Heather McMahon. Absolutely Not, the podcast every Wednesday. I'm Jared Freid. We're here Monday through Friday for the time being. Thank you for being here. Keep telling your friends. Keep telling your coworkers, your brothers, your sisters, your mamas, and papas. We'll be back next episode. Boom.